Maybe he stepped out.
He's out there.
Yeah.
Speaker slips go to you.
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much.
Could you agree with some of those? I see the doors are locked. The doors are locked. The doors are locked.
Good evening, and welcome to the June 21st meeting of the City of Vista Planning Commission. Would you all please rise and join us in the pledge, led by Commissioner Savage?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Chow, roll call.
Let the record show that all commissioners are present at this time except for Commissioner Aguilera, who should be arriving momentarily. And we have Student Commissioner Peter Childs in the audience. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioners, you've received the minutes from our June 7th meeting. If there are no changes, can we hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the June 7th meeting. Please cast your vote and lock it in.
Commissioner Garrettson, could you please place your vote? Chairman Rossler, Commissioner Aguilera is not here, so it will not show up on the display up there, but it was approved unanimously with Commissioner Aguilera absent at this time.
Very good. Thank you. We have a new voting system up here that we're all getting used to. So, all right. The next item, Ms. Chow, any changes to our agenda tonight?
No changes, and I'll let actually Chris Winters will be requesting a continuance on behalf of the applicant for PH1. So that's the only change particularly. Thank
Very
you.
good. All right, the next item on our agenda is oral communications. This is a time that the commission sets aside to hear from members of the community that on items that are not on our agenda. I do not have anyone wishing to speak on oral communications. Seeing anybody in the audience? No? All right, we will move on then to our first public hearing. And Mr. Winters.
Thank you, Chairman Rossler. On behalf of the project applicant, they respectfully request that the item be continued. So staff's recommendation is that the public hearing item number 1 for the Dutch Brothers drive-through be opened, continued to a date certain of July 5th, and conduct the hearing at that date.
Very good. Would someone like to make a motion to continue the public hearing to July 5th? Commissioner Garrettson.
I would move that the item be continued in July 5th.
All right. And Commissioner Savage?
I'll second that.
All right. It's been moved and second to continue the item to our meeting of July 5th. Please cast your vote.
Same as last time, the vote will not show up there at this time with Commissioner Aguilera not here, but it was unanimously approved with Commissioner Aguilera absent at this time.
All right. Very
Thank you.
good. All right. The next item on our agenda then is our discussion item for the South Santa Fe Heights apartment. Mr. Ressler, I believe the staff report is yours.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. The item before you tonight is a discussion regarding the status of the South Santa Fe Heights project. That project application number originally was PC 14-310. The subject site is 3.5 acres. It's located on the north side of South Santa Fe Avenue, just west of Montgomery Drive. The site is one legal parcel. It maintains a general plan land use designation of medium high density residential and a zoning classification of multifamily residential RM15. The original site plan was approved by the Planning Commission on August 6th of 2019. That site development plan included the development of 45 apartments on 3.5 acres. The project featured 9 buildings ranging from 2 to 7 apartment units per building. The site plan also included open space, recreation amenities, parking, and other site improvements, as well as a private driveway access from South Santa Fe Avenue. This is the site plan for the project, which illustrates the central driveway access, as well as the 9 apartment buildings and the additional site improvements. The approved apartments were 2-story buildings with a maximum height of 28 foot 5 inches. The architectural style of the development was considered contemporary in terms of architectural style. The building elevations were enhanced with stucco exteriors, composition siding, window banding, as well as stone accents. The buildings featured a shed roof system, and when completed, the buildings were to be painted a neutral earth tone color scheme. Here's 2 perspectives of the project taken from along South Santa Fe Avenue. On April 21st, 2020, a grading plan was issued for site and construction. On November 5th, 2020, building permits were issued for the construction of all 9 2-story apartment buildings. In October of 2021, the Planning Commission notified staff that the project, which was under construction at the time, did not include all the architectural features, colors, and enhancements that were originally included in the entitlement package. As a result, staff visited the site on October 20th, 2021, reviewed the approved entitlement drawings, and compared those with the building permit construction plans, and confirmed that there was a number of architectural features that were not incorporated during the building construction at that time. These missing items include stucco colors, composition siding in various locations, stone veneer in various locations, metal sunscreens with outrigger supports on various locations, stucco reveals, as well as reduced roof overhangs. The project owner and applicant was notified of these issues at that time. On April 18, 2022, at the request of the developer, staff performed a courtesy inspection in order to inspect 1 building on site and confirm that there was progress or was going in the right direction in terms of bringing it in compliance with the construction drawing specifications. During the inspection, a number of elevation discrepancies were identified, and that included composition siding, garage doors, entry doors, metal sunscreens, stucco score lines, roof overhangs, roof material. And in a letter dated April 21st, 2022, the project architect, Ricardo Ferguson, outlined an approach in order to resolve these issues. In addition to, the developer informed staff that the landscaping which was installed was not consistent with the approved construction landscape plan, and that a revised construction landscape plan would be submitted to reflect the changes that were made in the field. At this time, the developer is working towards completing the project in order to receive a final certificate of occupancy. Here's some current photos of the project. The staff does note that there's still some limited number of items that are inconsistent with the approved construction drawings, and those items include stucco score lines, the use of asphalt shingles, reduced eave overhangs, and some color discrepancies. Here's some more photographs of the project in its current state. With that, staff is requesting the Planning Commission provide direction in regards to the exterior building modifications to this project. This item is a discussion item only. and no action can be taken on the approved site development plan at the conclusion of this discussion. That concludes my presentation. The developer and his design team are here to answer any questions the Planning Commission might have.
Okay, I have two speaker slips from Ricardo Ferguson and Michael Edwards. Is there a presentation you want to make, or?
Yes, I have the landscape architect here, I have the architect here. I have a few introductory comments, and then we would try and do it in 10 minutes.
Okay,
Is that good?
sure.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the privilege of being here tonight. As I said, I have Ms. Ferguson here to answer any questions you may have about the architectural issues. It's difficult to assimilate years of information in 24 hours. If I misstate names or times or issues, I apologize in advance. It's merely inadvertent. My understanding, ladies and gentlemen, is that there were a list of items, and we believe that we have remedied all but 3. The roof is necessary because it's much more conducive to the installation of solar. The landscaping issues, our landscape architect retired 2 years ago. We retained Ms. Sotelo, did I say that correct? Sotelo, to come in and take a look. She added flowering plants that are water-wise, such as verbena, and to give it a green look, but also a flowery look to make it a little more soft from the street because of the retaining walls. To the extent it was changed, it was slightly changed, and to the extent it was changed, it was for the betterment of the project, and I also think for the streetscape. Excuse me. Each and every item but the 3, I believe, have been remedied. I extend an invitation to all of you folks to come by and take a look at it anytime you want. Just give an hour notice for liability purposes. I think you'll find it an extremely attractive and nice project. I think it's a welcome addition to South Santa Fe Avenue. And with that, I will ask our architect, Mr. Ferguson, to address the 3 issues that the Planning Commission pointed out to the group. I'd also point out that I brought with us today photos of the approval versus the as-built condition. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that because of the COVID and the shortage of materials, the hardy board that we ordered was not the proper color, so we had it all painted. The lumber ended up costing twice as much. You just need to know there have been financial impacts on this. Mr. Ferguson.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ricardo Ferguson. I'm the architect for the project. I'd like to reserve my time to address specifically any comments or additional corrections that you think need to be made on our project. We believe that we have worked consistently and tirelessly with Michael Ressler in the Planning Department to address all the discrepancies that have been identified. Michael Ressler has maintained complete open communications with our office, and we've done the same with the developer in an effort to make sure that our final project meets everything that was drawn and approved in the original entitlement drawings. As mentioned, there are a few items that are still outstanding. It's the intent of the developer and our team to address those items. However, if you have particular questions regarding any other items, I would like to address those for you. So if I can reserve that time to address any particular issues that you have and give you a reasonable explanation of why our project looks the way it looks, of which we're very happy with, I'd like to do that.
All right. Any questions of the project architect? Commissioner Garrettson.
The previous speaker talked about 3 things, but I only wrote down the roof and landscaping. What was the 3rd item that has not been brought up to compliance?
We had identified 3 items that needed to have additional attention. One was the roof overhang. The second item was the roof covering. And I think the third item then was the complete compliance with the previous landscape plan that had been revised with the addition of an additional landscape architect.
Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Aguilar?
So solar was mentioned, and that the roofing material is more conducive to putting solar. Was that something that was not, you weren't aware of before, or?
No, through the development of the project, solar at this point in our permitting process, buildings have to be solar ready. The developer was planning on putting solar on the roof. We were advised by our roofing contractor that due to waterproofing issues, the availability of a clay tile or a cement tile, that the composition shingle had a much better warranty, the installation was easier, and ultimately, maintenance with a fully established solar system is the better way to go.
So that makes sense to me. However, how come the roof overhang, the fascia and all that, weren't you, I mean, that seems like that just got thrown in there. I mean, that just
No,
bypassed
we've-
the city.
We've discussed that, and in
You
all
discussed that with
honesty-
Mr. Ressler?
No, internally, we've discussed, and actually, yes, Michael Ressler, we've discussed that with him too. Unfortunately, due to COVID, due to difficulty hiring competent carpenters, that slipped by. So it wasn't built to the full extent of the entitlement drawings. We found that out after the entire project had been framed, so it was irreversible. And actually, we didn't notice it until Mr. Ressler brought it to our attention. So there was no attempt at that point to diminish the overhangs or diminish the amount of shadow and impact to the building. It simply came out later in the wash.
So is your contractor?
It's a contractor issue, yes. It's a subcontractor issue, yes.
Of course. Okay, so sounds like you might have recourse.
That's up to the developer to figure out how they want to address that, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Garrettson, I'm sorry.
Yes, I would just like to ask, did the City Planning Commission communicate clearly on the expectations? And is there something that you would suggest that the city should have done that would have communicated more clearly to you that would have prevented these oversights?
No, I think we have, I think the process is very well developed and it's well codified. And the relationship, again, between my office, the developer, and the planning department is perfect. There were no hiccups in that. We communicated very effectively. Like I said, I think due to the time that we're dealing with now, COVID, employment issues, material issues, costing, we made some decisions in order to move forward with the project. And I think in hindsight, we could have kept the planning department more apprised of these changes that we were working through in response to material shortages and the like. So I think if there's any fault, that fault would be we should have been a little bit more in communication with Michael Ressler. However, after Michael came out and his team came out, we immediately tried to address all of those issues that they brought up. So we weren't trying to cover up anything. We weren't trying to not perform according to the entitlement drawings. And in fact, in our discussions with Michael Ressler, we set up a target building, and that building would be our model from which we would go back and finish all the other buildings. So there really isn't a process issue. I think the process works quite well.
Okay, so it strictly is on the developer to have not complied with the clear expectations.
Well, I think the protocol is that if there are any changes made in the entitlement drawings, I think the design and construction team has an obligation to make sure that the planning department is adequately apprised of those changes. We could have done that in a much more effective and timely fashion. However, let me repeat, once those issues were brought up, the team moved immediately to correct those issues.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Grimm?
Yeah, Commissioner Garrettson asked a question pretty similar to what I was going to ask, but I was going to also ask Mr. Ressler, at what point did you find out about the roof materials changing? Was that, there had been no communication from the developer on that, and you found out through a different source, or how was that found out?
Honestly, I think between issuance of building permits and until I went out there in October, I really didn't have much correspondence with the developer at that point. I think they were under construction and moving forward. And until the Planning Commission made me aware of the fact that the project didn't seem as though it was going in the right direction in terms of incorporating everything that was required per the construction drawings, that's when the city staff got involved and started doing a little research and identifying what was issues that weren't addressed in the construction phase.
So basically, what he's saying is that you made major changes and you didn't contact the city.
No, I wasn't saying that.
No, I'm saying
Oh,
that.
okay. Yes.
I'd just like you to comment.
I think if we look at the process of construction, I think what wasn't realized was that the developer was moving to enclose the building, finish the project, or move the project along. And at that point, when additional commissioners, perhaps maybe that's what happened, or the neighbors are looking at this project thinking that it was finished, it in fact was in process. The photographs that Mr. Ressler showed before showed a white building. It also showed that the landscaping wasn't complete. It also showed that the driveway wasn't complete. The project was in no way, shape, or form ready for a review or a final presentation based on its compliance with the entitlement drawings. It was in process. I too, when I drove by the project for a couple of months, I saw a white building, and if my assumption was that the developer was trying not to complete the project per the entitlement drawings, perhaps I would have drawn the same conclusion. But that's not what was happening. You know, it was part of the process of finishing the building at the developer's stage, because he's in control, they're in control of the methods of construction and the time frame for finishing off the various elements of the building. So it would be inappropriate, and it was deemed inappropriate, to paint and finish the building prior to completing the driveway, completing the landscaping, completing other major elements on the building that would have soiled or destroyed work that was already in place. That is solely up to the developer to schedule his work and his production and his finishing of the project. I just think it was unfortunate that the neighborhood thought that the building was finished when it really wasn't. So we invite you to look at the project now and see what we've done. We have, I have additional renderings that are of the proposed project, and renderings are of what has actually been completed. I believe, without a doubt, that the building is in substantial conformance with the original intent and specifically the entitlement drawings. There's very, very little deviation. Commissioners, you are welcome at any point to come and look at that building and examine it in detail. There is very little discrepancies. However, we do have a couple things that we are not able to fix, notably the roof. There's been several discussions about the selection of the roofing material. I believe that in the entitlement drawings and in the construction drawings, there's a bit of a discrepancy in terms of what the roofing material actually was to be. I think the developer, in looking at the entitlement drawings, followed the entitlement drawings. However, on the construction drawings, we showed a concrete tile. So there is a discrepancy there. But the discrepancy is in favor, I believe, of the developer because he followed the entitlement drawings. The issue about the overhang, I hate to stand in front of the commissioners and say there was an error made, but frankly, that was beyond our control, and we aren't able to fix that. The developer is here today and has always been willing to fix every item that Mr. Ressler has brought forward and to fix those in a timely fashion.
Okay, I guess for me, it's, obviously you've made a lot of progress on what you're
Yes.
doing now. I think for me, it's a little bit of a credibility issue. And I
Yes.
haven't really heard anybody stand up and say, hey, we're really sorry what happened here. We didn't do right, and we won't let it happen again.
I think we can bring
haven't
the
heard that.
developer up and have him speak on his behalf on those very issues, if you'd like.
It's up to you guys.
Oh, let's do that. Shervin, would you like to?
Good afternoon. In regard to the,
This is Majid Martabani. He's the developer, in case you're wondering who's speaking.
yes. Let me get my eyeglass, excuse me. In very brief, you are well aware at the time we started to break ground, we faced with that COVID pandemic. And after a while, we came with the shortages of the labor, material, and substantial increase of the, especially lumber. And the budget that we consider for the project was substantially increased. If I tell you the number, you will be surprised, over $2 million. And, but in my whole life, based on many projects which I did, I never ever cut the corner. I always work with the Mr. Michael Ressler, and I respect him. And at all the time, which we really, and if you look at the as the built, the drawing, and as built, you will see that it is even better, not worse. Same in this one. In regard to the landscaping, the landscape architect is very well qualified. She's here. Compared with the landscape which is retired, the landscaping we use over there, without any exaggeration, we spend more than $100,000 extra planting for enhancing the property. This project is like my baby. This is my retirement account. I didn't want to cut any corner of it. And I did all my best all the time to make it improve better. In regard to the roof material, in page 17 of the Commissioner's resolution, it quite clear about the roof material. And on item 4, it says the building roof shall maintain dimensions asphalt shingle. In the plan, as Mr. Michael Ressler indicated, in some pages it says asphalt, in some pages it says concrete. But overall, we evaluate with the roofer, with the structural engineer, especially a structural engineer recommended that we can use concrete. We can use the proper tile material. It has to be light concrete tile. That light concrete tile on that time was in the short supply. And we evaluate and look at this option, which is in the resolution. We go with the recommendation of the electrician, and for the purpose of having a solar in future, we go with based on that resolution, based on this. And at this time, if you look at that one and look at everything, and if I really would like to invite you to come and look at the project and look at the street, then we, without any exaggeration, in every other weeks at least, some developer, some landowner, some people are coming and really appreciating about the project. We received lots of compliment about that.
Could you summarize your response to Commissioner Grimm's request about where you're at on the project, and we'll move on?
I would like to ask, yes, please, respectfully. Please, maybe I missed that.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Commissioner Savage and Commissioner Aguilar, you have additional questions for the applicant? Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Savage.
I just want to clarify that the roofing material is changed for the weight, and I just want to correct that, right? So the new PV system that you guys would be putting in would add to the structural weight, and so you would need lightweight concrete. That's why you guys have switched to this material. So I'm understanding that
Part of
correctly?
the reason, yes.
Okay,
Including the solar, using the solar in future.
right, and that's because of the building structure. Right?
Sure.
Okay. Just want to clarify that, so thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Aguilar?
So I have been out to the site. I was out there yesterday. It does look better than what we initially saw.
I'm
So
glad.
congratulate you on that. That's a huge improvement.
I appreciate it.
So the landscaping, I do have a question about that. Sounds like it's been improved.
The landscape architect is here. May I ask?
One of the questions I have is there's a 24-inch box tree in the planting area between E and F or something. E and F and F and G. Are those there?
I can't specify on each specific element in the plan itself. The revised plan that was submitted was provided to our city's contract landscape architect. The first initial review indicated there was a list of correction items that needed to be addressed. Those were provided to the applicant. At this time, the applicant's landscape architect made those changes, revised the drawings, and now they're in for review, city review. So at this point, it's with our landscape architect. So at this point, I can't make a comment in terms of if it's been approved. As of right now, it's in for review.
And all the items have been addressed of the list that the landscape architect gave us.
So I guess my only concern would be the amount of landscape more than anything. I'm not a botanist or anything like that, so you're the expert, and our city expert would, is going to be the one that reviews it and looks at those plants. So I don't really have a problem with the different plants and that type of thing. I just want to make sure that we're still talking about the same percentage of landscaping that was initially discussed
Yes,
and agreed to.
we definitely are. We only changed a few species just to make it a little more attractive, a little more evergreen and easier for maintenance. The other thing that we did is that we changed the arrangement because the previous design was a little, one Rhaphilepis, one Daiitis, one Formium, and it was all mixed. That's very hard to maintain for a property owner. So what we did is we arranged it in rows and layers, so it gives us a better appearance.
Well, I mean, that makes total sense. Can you answer the question on page 18, number 12, the 24-inch box trees?
Let me look at that, please.
There's a check box and there's something that I saw here earlier indicating that it was taken care of, but page 18 of the resolution, number 12.
Page 18, okay.
12? Yes.
Yes, that has been done.
Like I said, I have been out to the project. It does look nice. Just very disappointed that the roof fascia wasn't done correctly, and I assume that the tiles were necessary, so I'm okay with it. Thanks.
Thank you. If there are no other questions from the commission, I would like to hear from Mr. and Mrs. Moyer. Sorry it took so long to get to you.
That's okay.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm Matthew Moyer. It's my wife Lori. Through this whole project, the contractor's been very cooperative, very attentive to any questions we've had. Any issues we've had, he's been more than attentive. So I would give him great marks in those areas.
To give you perspective, we're right above the project. If you look at the pictures of the big trees, that's our house. And so we see these rooftops, and they look fine. So we don't have any problem with, the presentation of
I'm quite surprised
how
that
everything looks.
as you look at the project, I don't think you'd be able to see the tile one way or the other. Personally, I look at these pictures and I don't think you'd see a difference. From our perspective, we would see the tile.
But actually not that much, because all the roofs are going like this.
Yeah.
So we
And
actually
it
don't see
looks
too much
fine.
of it.
I'm
So.
perfectly happy with it.
But I just want to comment that anytime we've ever called Majid for anything, right away, immediate response, immediate resolution, they've been totally above board with us, with what they're doing, and cooperative with meeting our needs as well. And so I think that's important for you to know.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Commissioners, do you have any comments on what you would like to see done with the project from this point? Any additional comments or recommendations to the developer this evening? Commissioner Aguilar?
Yeah, I guess at this point, we just have to wait for the landscape architect to approve the plans. There's not much we can do about the roof. And I do agree with the neighbors from the street, you can't really see the tiles. And if it's gonna help on maintenance, I guess that's
Okay.
probably best.
Very good. Commissioner Looney?
Thank you. One of the things I'd like for staff to maybe review is the color palette that was originally presented to the Planning Commission and approved, and to see how the existing colors that are currently on the building, how those compare to what was initially approved. So, just one other comment that I'd like to make to Majid. Your architect, in my opinion, made a great presentation for you. He's very eloquent, and his words were carefully spoken. And I think if you do future projects, that he represents you very well. And I just wanted to express that opinion. So it's not, you don't see it very often.
Very good. In reviewing the color palette, I'd like staff to take a look at the color on the patio surrounds and on the front doors. I don't have a problem with the change in the glass layout of the front door. I think it's consistent, but I think some additional of the dark brown on the patio surrounds may help the project. Now, let me tell you my perspective. This project, I wasn't here when you came through originally. I was on vacation, so my name's not on the resolution. But the project was approved in a public hearing. The public has anticipated that it will look like the project that we approved with the modifications. And if it doesn't, it not only doesn't reflect well on you, it doesn't reflect well on this commission. And you will find your next project a lot tougher to get through if you have problems with the commission or you have problems with the staff. So take a look at what was approved and build that. I personally have looked at the plans, and I think you're going to have maintenance issues on it. So I'm glad it's an apartment, and I'm glad you're going to be responsible for it, because I think there are things that are going on in the plant-ons on the wall that that are going to be a maintenance problem in the future. So with that, no other comments. Mr. Ressler, do we need to do anything other than conclude our discussion?
Yeah, if you don't want it to come back to a hearing, there's no need to take a motion or anything like that. Staff will take the suggestions, or, excuse me, the direction in terms of confirming the palette, the color palette on the project, specifically in the patio enclosure and the front door, and confirm that it's done prior to final permit.
All right, very good. All right, then we will move on our agenda. And the next item is reports from commission members. Any reports or discussion from the commission? If not, we'll move along to Mr. Connolly's report.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We will have a meeting on July 5th. Sorry, the day after 4th of July, but we do have two items now. We'll have the drive-through that was supposed to be heard tonight, and the proposed single-room occupancy hotel on Mar Vista Drive. The council has a meeting on the 28th prior to their recess in July. There are a couple items on there that might be of interest. We are going to present the general plan update. As you know, we've contracted with a consultant to update our general plan. That process has been kicked off. We're going to just present to the council what's expected to occur as part of the process and what we'll be evaluating and doing as part of it. We will come to the commission a little later in the year and provide a similar presentation. It's just because of timing and their recess, we're going to try to do it before they're off. So if anyone's interested, you can come, but we will bring it back to the commission. The important point to note is we'll have a technical advisory committee that we'll appoint toward the end of the year that will be working on the general plan really closely with staff, and then we'll be coming back to the commission occasionally to do updates, but we're going to have to pick a couple folks from the commission to be on the committee. Other items of interest, we are also completing our membership to the Clean Energy Alliance, and that's on the council's agenda on the 28th to join a community choice energy program. That was part of the CAP, and it's something that we're moving forward with. Other than that, I don't have anything else. So, questions? Yes, sir.
I got a whole list of questions for you. Commissioner Aguilar.
Yeah, so I have a friend of mine that lives in Shadow Ridge. She continues to ask me, like, every week when I see her about Burlington Coat Factory. When is that?
So we have an application that's in for a zone change and general plan amendment to do a housing development and a small commercial building there. It's being processed by planning. It still has to go through the secret process, and it will come to public hearing, I'm guessing, probably sometime next year.
Okay, thank you.
It's not going to happen before the end of the year, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah. She asks me like every 2 weeks when I see her.
Yeah, it's a ways out.
Commissioner Looney.
I recently noticed that a fence had been built around the old Cocoa site on
Yes.
Melrose. And is there anything that can be shared on that parcel of land?
So Coco's is closed. We have talked to a number of different interested parties that want to put a lot of uses there that we're not interested in having there. So I don't think at this point we have a confirmed user. Patsy, are you aware? No. We've had a lot of inquiries about the building, but nothing of any substance at this point.
The only thing I can add is there may be an interest for a circus
Yeah,
activity going on there, but that's all I know.
yeah, they're looking at temporary uses.
Right. Commissioner Garrettson.
Yes, I just want to ask about the service station on Wormlands.
That was mine.
So the service station on Wormlands, the owner is getting active again. I think you knew there was some financial issues between the prior owner and the current owner that stopped all the activity that we were looking at about the middle middle of last year, they pulled a permit. We expected they were going to start construction. It all stopped. The owner came in this week and said they were going to demolish the buildings on the site. There are some components that need to be handled before that's done through a plan check. So we gave him the information, and he said he'd be back in the next couple of weeks to pull a permit. So we're keeping positive that they do some demolition.
And Charlie, anything else?
Well, yeah, I had the same question Gary did, but I also, you and I had talked the other day about about what's going on downtown on Santa Fe. I was just wondering if the city had any plans in the near future for putting parking lots or anything. Is there going to be any more improvements coming from
Good
the city?
question. We do own the lot at the corner of Mercantile and Guajome. That's right behind the CHW project that just was built. The construction crew actually used it as a yard during construction. That's all city-owned, and we've held it for public parking in the future. That's the intent. I think it's about 1.5 acres. That's the only site that we currently own that we're planning to put parking on. We do own some other properties down there that are much smaller that we'll probably end up selling to developers once the opportunity presents itself.
Okay. If that's all, then we will stand adjourned until July 5th.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.